It's an ordinary Tuesday, lunch break. You're sitting in the break room with a colleague, someone who's been at the company longer than almost anyone else. He's 63, sharp, experienced, the kind of person younger employees go to when they don't know how something works. You ask him, casually, what his retirement plans look like. He takes a slow sip of his coffee, looks at the table for a moment, and then he says something that stays with you for the rest of the day. I figure I'll work until I physically can't anymore. Not bitter, not dramatic, just matter of fact, like he was talking about the weather, like this was simply how things were going to go, and he had made his peace with it a long time ago. And the thing that unsettles you most isn't what he said, it's how he said it, with the same calm tone someone uses when they're describing something that was decided long ago, something that can no longer be changed. You go back to your desk, you open a new tab, and for the first time in a long time, you actually look at your own retirement account. Here's the number most people never look at directly. The median retirement savings for someone between 58 and 66 inches in this country sits somewhere around $160,000. At a standard 4% withdrawal rate, that generates roughly $6,400 a year. A little over $530 a month. Add the average Social Security benefit, and you're looking at a combined monthly income that, in most parts of the country, doesn't cover rent, let alone groceries, utilities, medication, or any of the other things that don't stop costing money just because you stopped working. The math doesn't work. For most people, it doesn't come close to working. And here's what makes that number so uncomfortable. The people sitting on $160,000 at 62 didn't get there through recklessness. They didn't blow their savings on bad investments or lose everything in a crisis. Most of them just made thousands of small, individually reasonable decisions across 4 decades. Each one made sense at the time. Together, they added up to a retirement that doesn't exist. That's not a personal failure, it's a systems failure, and understanding the system is the only way to escape it. There are 3 mechanisms, not 8, not 12. 3 specific things that explain almost the entire gap between the people who retire comfortably and the people who don't. The first one is the most dangerous because it feels the most reasonable. I'll start properly next year, after the car is paid off, after the kids are in school, after the promotion, after things settle down a little. The problem isn't the intention. The problem is what happens to money when it's delayed by even a single decade. Think about 2 people, same income, same monthly amount. They're willing to invest $350 a month. One starts at 26, the other starts at 36. Both invest consistently until 65, both averaging a 7% annual return. The person who started at 26 ends up with somewhere around $980,000. The person who started at 36 ends up with somewhere around $440,000. Same money, same discipline, same rate of return. The only difference is 10 years. And those 10 years cost over $500,000. That's not a typo. That's compound interest working in one person's favor and quietly working against the other. The 10 years between 26 and 36 are worth more, mathematically, than every single dollar invested in the decades that follow. And once those years are gone, they're gone. No amount of catch-up contributions fully replaces them. The brutal version of this truth is simple. The best time to start was years ago. The second best time is right now. And every month that passes moves you from one category into the other. The second mechanism is harder to see because it happens at the worst moments, the moments when it feels most justified. Most retirement accounts in this country aren't treated as untouchable. They're treated as a backup savings account, a last resort when something goes wrong, and something always goes wrong. A medical bill, a job loss, a home repair that couldn't wait, a family situation that required cash immediately. The withdrawal feels like a temporary setback. You take out $15,000, you pay the penalty, you pay the tax, and you walk away with maybe $10,500 in hand. It stings, but you survived. You tell yourself you'll make it back. What you don't see, what nobody shows you on the withdrawal form, is the number on the other side of that decision. That $15,000, left untouched from age 38 to 65 at 7% annual growth, would have become approximately $87,000. You didn't withdraw $15,000. You withdrew $87,000. You just won't know that for another 27 years. This is why the emergency fund isn't optional. It's not a nice to have for people who are already financially stable. It's the wall that stands between your present problems and your future self. Without it, every crisis becomes a retirement crisis. Every short-term problem becomes a long-term one, compounded over decades into something mathematically very difficult to recover from. The people who retire comfortably didn't have fewer emergencies. They just had a place to put them that wasn't their future. The third mechanism is the quietest one, and in some ways, the most fixable. Most people have no actual number. Ask someone what they need to retire, and most will give you a vague answer. Enough to be comfortable. A few $100,000, I think. Whatever I have when the time comes. The calculation isn't complicated. Estimate what you'll spend each year in retirement. Multiply by 25. That's approximately what you need to sustain that lifestyle without running out of money. If you plan to spend $55,000 a year, not luxuriously, just covering expenses you need around $1.375 million. Most people have never done that calculation, not because they're not smart enough, but because the number feels large, and the gap between where they are and where they need to be feels alarming, and it's easier to stay vague than to confront something that specific. But here's what vagueness actually costs you. When there's no target, there's no feedback. You contribute something to your retirement account every month, and you feel like you're doing the right thing, but you have no way of knowing if you're on track, behind, or nowhere close. The feeling of responsibility substitutes for the actual calculation. The person who retires with $940,000 didn't just save more. He ran the numbers at 41, didn't like what he saw, and adjusted. He checked again at 51. He had a destination, and having a destination told him when he was off course before it was too late to correct. Without a number, saving has no direction. And without direction, you end up wherever the defaults take you. Now here's the part that usually gets left out of these conversations. None of this is really about information. You probably already knew, on some level, that starting early matters, that rating your retirement account is expensive, that you should have a specific savings target. This isn't new information for most people who watch videos like this one. So why doesn't knowing it change the behavior? Because retirement is a problem that lives in the wrong time zone for the human brain. The bill due next month is real. The car that needs repairs is real. The thing you want to buy this weekend is real. The version of you at 67 who can't afford to stop working that person is abstract, theoretical, far enough away that your brain doesn't treat it as a genuine emergency, even though it is one. You're not lazy. You're not irresponsible. You're running on hardware that was never designed to feel urgency about something 30 years away. And the entire consumer economy is structured to keep you spending today, not saving for a future self who doesn't feel quite real yet. The people who break out of this aren't more disciplined than everyone else. They've just built systems that remove the decision entirely. Contributions that move automatically before the paycheck hits the checking account. Percentages that increase every time income increases without requiring a conscious choice. Rules that treat the retirement account as untouchable before treating it as an option. Discipline is unreliable over 40 years. Systems aren't. The colleague who retired last year, not the one still at his desk, the other one didn't win through willpower. He won by engineering his finances so that the right thing happened automatically, and the wrong thing required effort. The automation wasn't a trick. It was the strategy. Back to that break room. Your colleague finishes his coffee. He's not miserable. He's not broken. He's just honest about how the math worked out, after decades of individually reasonable choices that collectively led somewhere he didn't intend to go. You walk back to your desk. The tab is still open. The question isn't whether the math is brutal. It is. The question is which side of it you're going to be on. The 6, 7-year-old version of you is already living somewhere, already in some reality. He's either on a flight somewhere he's been meaning to go for years, or he's still at a desk, telling someone younger that he figures he'll work until he physically can't anymore. That version of you doesn't get to rewind. But right now, today, you still do. What does your number actually look like?